We are back live at the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. There was so much in this speech, I think, that is worth digging into because it tells us a lot about the moment we're living in. And you were living in as a governor and a person who lives rent-free in Donald Trump's head. Today, President Obama spoke about the importance of an independent judiciary, a robust press. He talked about a belief that our military and law enforcement owe allegiance not to any president, but to the Constitution. And you have experienced the threat that the current occupant poses to our country. As someone who doesn't believe in those things, what should people know and understand about why that was so important for former President Obama to talk about today and how it still exists right now?
You know, there are young people who really don't know what it's like to have a judiciary that's independent of the presidency or a Congress that will stand up to a president, again, independently, because we have neither one of those, at least not at the Supreme Court, not in the United States Congress. And so I think it was very important to hear from the mouth of the last, Democratic president who's built a museum, a library, a center here, that we should have that again. And indeed, so many of the things that we're going through right now are an attack on, in a way that you see in third world countries, an attack on the president's enemies. Let's, begin investigating people who really haven't done anything wrong, but just the president wants revenge on them for things that they've said about him or worked against him. So I was very, very glad to hear him expound about that. And I must say, we've seen too much lately of the kind of let's prosecute. The DOJ is going after politicians and others that the president just doesn't like.
Today, my colleague Jacob Soboroff, to that point, asked Governor Gavin Newsom and his wife Jennifer about the Trump administration's investigation into them. I just want to play that for people in case they haven't seen it.
We heard from the governor, but we haven't heard from you yet about this investigation. What do you want to say?
I'm just so grateful for this inspiration and leadership. We need more of this.
Hey, this is stuff that happens in other countries. That's all I'll say. Happens in other countries. Who wants to go after me, go after me.
Do you worry he's going to find a way to investigate you? Is that something you think about?
I don't think about it. It's not like a daily thought. I certainly, when I look at Gavin Newsom, when I look at Tim Walz, these are two very strong governors who've spoken out against the president consistently, as I have. All three of us have been threatened in one fashion or another. As you know, the president said he wanted to jail me, but he's trying to trump up something against the Newsoms. He's trumped up something against the Walzes. He's using Todd Blanche, who may become the next attorney general, to go after people. And that is not the way the DOJ has ever operated before, at least not in my lifetime, where they're literally, or not since I was a very little kid and Richard Nixon, going after people because the president just doesn't like them. And so that's where I think we all have to stand up and speak out. It's not about protecting me or other governors. It's about protecting the rule of law in this country. We need to, if this president is allowed to get away with all of his corruption, with all of his attacks on his political enemies, using the state to go after people with nothing to go on, and yet just because he believes those people are against him, that if that is allowed to continue, we're going to truly, this country is going to lose its democratic institutions, and we're going to end up as an authoritarian regime.
We were just talking about this during the break, and it struck me, too, that George W. Bush and former First Lady Laura Bush were sitting on that stage with the rest of the former Democratic presidents. They seem to be enjoying themselves. George W. Bush got quite a clap. He got quite a load of applause. So did Angela Merkel, by the way, for people who were sitting here. What do you think that tells you? That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago.
No, I think it's that we've all been reminded that with all the political differences that exist between the two parties, that even the people we disagreed with that were serving as president or in high positions, that even those people, these are human beings. They're good people trying to do the right thing, even if we disagree with the way they're trying to do it. But if you got into George W. Bush's head and wondered, is this person trying to lift up people who need a helping hand? Yes, he was. I think he was doing it all wrong. I disagreed with him when he was trying to do it because I thought he had the wrong angle on it, wasn't going to accomplish what he wanted. But he meant well, and he really was trying with integrity to do what he thought was the right thing. And that is the minimum thing that we ought to expect from a president. That's not what we're getting out of this administration. I don't think anybody that is rational thinks that this president actually every day is waking up and thinking, how do I lift people up who really need an extra helping hand?
It really speaks to the moment we're in, that President Obama ran essentially against the war that former President Bush started, and there they were because of the moment we're in this country. Governor J.B. Pritzker, I'm so grateful you could be here. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the day with us.
Thanks for coming to the south side of Chicago.
We're happy to be here. We'll be back.
Great.